You're listening to a special P&P Pals holiday intermission. Jagged tunnels snake away deep underground, littered with ancient stone. The group nears the end of their journey, but the last leg is a hard climb over steep terrain. It's time for a break.
Oof,
says Anise as she falls heavily onto a hip. She tugs at the toe of her boot, trying to work on a cramp that's been brewing in the arch of her foot. Retribution kneels at her side. How are you faring, Anise?
I'm mostly fine. Fatigue is just beginning to set in.
Already? Maybe you should spend a little more time off the wagon. Even if you rode horseback, it'd do wonders for your stamina.
Anise sulks a moment, then...
The terrain down here is more harsh than I could have imagined. These nagging little injuries are adding up. To prepare for this, I'd need to have been tethered behind the wagon and dragged up the mountainside.
Well, we still have the backside of the mountain to work with. Let's keep your idea in mind for our descent.
The tiefling playfully raps on the heel of Anise's boot.
Don't overexert yourself while we're down here. Doing so could be lethal. If you need anything, speak up sooner rather than later.
I will.
Anise lies. With that, they turn their attention to Keeks and the other goblins.
They've all heaped their packs together and sit nestled against the pile. One of them, Grimtaft, struggles with a tin of pears, an exotic item excavated from one of the packs provided by the druids of Ward Against Harm.
You might need a hammer to open that.
Grimtaft nods, then reaches into the bag behind him. He feels around for something heavy as a hammer. He thinks he saw a second tin of pears. Meanwhile, Keeks is shaving thin, curling ribbons off a slab of cured meat. She looks wistful. Aye.
What's the matter? I could trade you some things from the inland territories, if you're bored of whatever it is you have there.
No, it's not that. We're supposed to have a festival around now, but we're going to have to skip it this year.
Anise tilts her head inquisitively.
Why is that? It's a feasty festival, and as long as we're cut off from our homes and stores, it's an indulgence we can't afford.
Holding her arms, Retribution asks,
You can't scale it back? Celebrate with what you have?
The goblin turns her prodigious nose upward indignantly. That'd be against the spirit of the holiday. Have either of you heard of Muglubby yet?
Anise and Retribution both shake their heads no.
Good to hear. Goddamned God deserves as much. Let's sit a while, and I'll tell you the smallest piece you need to know. Ahem. Long ago, before the mountains had grown tall, we goblins were a petty, spiteful bunch. Thieves, dimwits, right little cutthroats. Any bad word what's ever been spoken about a goblin was probably true, and you can lay that at the feet of the High Chieftain, Muglubby. He'd long held the souls of all goblins captive. We waged a never-ending parade of wars in his name. We fought the orcs of Grumpsh, fought the armies of old elven gods, their names long forgotten. We've even fought in the Blood War, for Tanari and Batazu both. We fought each other too, scrabbling over one another just to stand closer to our god. When we would die, we're not so big, so it happened as a matter of course. When we would die, Muglubby would dump our souls into pools of clay, animal viscera, grass clippings. From there, we'd be reborn to grow, fight, and die all over again. Then, old Muglubby's hubris caught up with him. He sought another god's fire. I don't remember which one. I think it was one of the Forge gods. Anyway, the stupid prick tried to steal the fire barehanded, and was badly burnt. He suckled his roasted thumb, and, egomaniac that he was, declared it the greatest thing he'd ever tasted. The flavor was irresistible, and before long, he'd chewed the flesh from his thumb, his fingers, his whole hand, then the arm, all the way to his elbow. Still he wasn't satisfied, because his stomach matched his fat, empty head. So he drew a deep breath, strong enough to pull flesh from bone, strong enough to send the bones chasing after, breaking against one another as they whirled down his gullet. In his greed and love for himself, he swallowed his ears, head, even his mouth. He ate until nothing was left, least of all his control over goblin kind. Without Maglubiet's bullying, we became our own people. Started running in gangs like we do. We mind our own business, and you surface dwellers are usually content to let us be. With the way things were, that's probably the best we can hope for.
So, the feast is a metaphor? The food akin to Maglubiet's body, and his self-destruction.
What? No, don't be so poetical. We eat to spite the bastard. We eat because he can't. Seems like it'd really piss him off, right?
But,
Anise wonders how much this holiday has been distorted by time.
Her thoughts are interrupted by a sudden metallic crack.
Crouched nearby, Retribution jerks the pointed end of her warhammer free of the can of pears. Anise hadn't even noticed she'd moved. Hooray! Thank you.
Don't worry, everyone. I keep my weapons very clean. It would seem to me that the food isn't the most important thing. It's the insubordination, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Would that old god have accepted you sitting with the likes of us over a peaceful meal?
No, he'd ate all of this. We didn't even steal those pears.
And there's your holiday. Why don't we have a friendly snack and a glass of whatever's around in honor of insubordination?
She raises her warhammer, a call to toast.
To pissing off old dead gods.
The goblins respond with gusto, cheering as they rise to their feet. Keeks finds a bottle of whatever's around tucked in a pack. Soon, there's a full cup for everyone.
Retribution takes a seat near Anise, speaking softly.
That seems to have bolstered their spirits. I'm glad to see it, but it's a bandage at best. I hope we can do something that really helps them.
She lifts her cup and rocks closer to Anise.
Here, to disregarding bygone gods and other ancient things.
Retribution has inadvertently given the young woman the shivers. Anise raises her mug slowly with both hands to mask its trembling.
To willful irreverence.
They all eat until the tin is emptied, then sit a while, laughing in company of their own choosing. It's a good break. The music for our intro was composed by Walker Williams. We have links to him and his work in the description. P&P Pals is adapted from a 5th edition D&D play-by-post campaign and has been dramatized for your enjoyment. This show is produced by Precarious at best and heard by you. Best of luck in the new year, traveler.